Welcome to the Running Network Show. Join us each time as we explore the people, the places, and the events that shape our great sport.
Welcome to the Bench Press.
Ready to hear Scott Jurek?
I think I'm on this one, so I might get it this out. All right, well, Michigan, it's great to be here.
Welcome to the Running Network and Michigan Runner. We're here with UltraMarathoner Scott Jurek, and with me is Gary Morgan, and I'm Jennie McCafferty. Scott just had a great talk at Veg Fest, and he's talking mostly about food, but you're a best-selling author of this book, Eat and Run. So we're going to talk about food first. Your book mentions it, but you learned to cook meat and potatoes from your mother, mostly.
Yes, I grew up in northern Minnesota. I'm a hunting and fishing boy, and I had gardens as a kid, having to weed, and I was taught the basics, but we definitely did not eat a vegetarian or vegan diet, which I later found, but was definitely introduced to the importance of good food and preparing meals and eating off the land, so to speak.
Home-cooked meals, and you got used to being in the kitchen.
Definitely. She was my mother and my grandmother, and even my grandparents. My grandfather used to cook, and it was a matter of that's just how it was. If you wanted to eat, you had to make your meals. Going out to eat was for special occasions. Once or twice a year for birthdays, and so I have them to thank that food has been such an important part of my life, and later finding that in plants was key.
Well, one of the fun things in your book is recipes, and so it's been fun going through those and seeing where some of them came from. And you really have a lot to learn when you decide to become vegetarian or vegan, don't you?
Yeah, you now have to be involved in your diet, and for me it was a big step, but I have really embraced that learning process, and I think that's for anybody, especially like a beginning runner or somebody who, whatever hobby or thing you're gonna take on, you have to immerse yourself in it, and you ask questions of other people. And I love to go into the co-op and learning about new foods and go to the bulk bins and how do I make these different things. So you have to look at it as a challenge that you embrace, and not something like, oh, I've got to now cook food. So try not to dread that. There's a lot of fun in it, and that's what I try to convey to people in the book.
Well, that came through your talk too, and really I think of it as an adventure. There are so many new things you can learn how to cook. Like I'm learning to cook Indian food, for example. Definitely.
I mean, the ethnic influence. To me, pepper was like a spice when I grew up. It's like salt and pepper on the potatoes, and now all of a sudden I was like cooking, Indian food and Japanese food and Asian, and that whole influence really caught on, and it was just inspiring to me. And it's simple food. It doesn't have to be complex or weird foreign ingredients. They're things that you can get at your local grocery store, and it's been a lot of fun. I'm glad you're enjoying it too.
One more food thing. One of my favorite cookbook authors is Mark Bittman, and you, for heaven's sake, cooked a meal for him. How did that feel?
Yeah, that was a little pressure. I didn't know I was going to be cooking for him, but he was doing an interview, and he was like, well, I want to go for a run with you, so we're going to run around Central Park. And then he's like, well, come over to my place, and I'll cook lunch, and we'll do the interview over lunch. And I'm thinking, oh, this will be great. I get Mark Bittman cooking for me. And I find out later, he's like, you know what, I'm going to ice my knee, because he had an injury at the time. I'm going to ice my knee and sit here at the computer. He's like, why don't you cook for me? He's like, I want to see if you can cook. And so it was like Iron Chef for Mark Bittman, and before you know it, I'm in the kitchen, like going through his pantry, and
that must have been fun
to order. That like, here's what I want to cook for you, and go and get this from the grocery store. It was like whatever he had. So it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, and he was impressed.
That must have been kind of a little bit of pressure that you're not used to having when you're cooking.
Definitely. I don't do cooking competitions. I don't claim to be a chef. My mother once told me that you don't have to, be a chef to cook good food. And for me, it's really just simple. So it was a little bit of pressure, but I just look at it as like, okay, I'm making a meal for my friends, and even though he's a food critic, I was like, I'm just going to look at it that way. It's just somebody I'm cooking food for.
That's so cool. One more question before I'll turn it over to Gary, and that is, I spend a lot of time at finish lines with cameras, and I never see the winners stay around, but you do. Why so?
I think it's really to share that experience. You only get to experience the finish line for those 20, 30 seconds that you cross. And for me, I get to relive it by watching those people, cheering for them, and you get to soak in that energy. And anybody who's been in a finish line can feel that. It's electrifying. And so I found myself sleeping out at Western State's 100-mile finish, just camping out there because people finish throughout the night, 15 hours after I've finished. And I did it because I thought, well, it's a good place to sleep in my sleeping bag. And I didn't have a hotel room, and that's how it started. And then I just thought, I'm going to be hanging out. And it's a great way to connect with the people, and I've always enjoyed that aspect of the sport.
Well, it's very cool. So Gary's run a lot of marathons, and he's run Comrades. So Gary, what would you like to know?
I would like to know now, why haven't you run Comrades? You've run races all over the earth, and that's the #1 ultra marathon of all time. So why haven't you got over there to run that one?
I definitely want to get over there. It's one of those races. It's a little shorter and, believe it or not, and faster for me, being 52 miles. I know it sounds weird that it'd be short, but to be competitive. But I've always wanted to do it from a historical significance. I mean, it's bigger than any marathon in South Africa, and so I definitely want to get down there. That and the two oceans down in South Africa are historically significant. So I'm really excited to get down there some year. And congratulations to you for finishing it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I did a couple of times. Well, now what was your PR in the marathon? Any marathon.
My PR in the marathon is 2:38, which is not super fast. It's a decent time, but I'm not competitive when it comes to the shorter stuff. So the longer it is, the better.
Scott, thank you so much for talking with us, and we look forward to seeing you on the trails.
Oh, thank you very much, and keep Michigan running strong. It's great to be here.
Thank you.
Yep.